And Matt Stryker was another one I got to watch. That was in our video too. Matt obviously knows Feinstein for a long time because of Feinstein's independent dealings here. Always having a table at a lot of those Jack Sabbath and Frank Goodman shows back in the day when Frank was here. I was telling Don Tony, Stryker put Frank over big time as a big asset to his career, and talked about some other independent people. And I remember some of the shows for Jack Sabbath that Matt Stryker was on. That's how I got exposure to him, seeing him in the early 2000s when Low Key and Xavier were here. You remember that, Don Tony?
Yeah, we got to see these guys 13 years ago.
Yeah, Matt Stryker is from Queens, same borough me and Don Tony are living in, from Bayside, not too far. Taught at a high school that a lot of us know people who graduated from. So he's kind of like one of the, one of the borough guys here from New York. So, listening to him talk, I know a lot of people like him and they act like him, talk like him. He comes off a little condescending and a little self-righteous sometimes, but that's always kind of been him. One thing I'll say is I didn't realize what a wrestling fan he was, naming wrestlers like, probably, he didn't say how old he was, but I assume he's near 40. And, going back to the Garden in the day and guys like, the S.D. Jones, the Rick McGraws, the Charlie Fultons, he was naming names even of jobber wrestlers I had forgotten about. So obviously, he's a student of the game, been a fan for a long time before he got into it, and went about it the hard way. He went to the doghouse to work out, and he definitely paid his dues on the independent circuit. He probably got lucky in some aspects when he got the WWE gig. But he was an interesting storyteller. I was telling Don Tony, actually, by the end of the interview, when he talked about getting fired by WWE, they were just basically going in a different direction. As you see, they got that girl announcer, Renee, now, who I don't think anything of. I would have kept Stryker if I was them. But he thought he was getting a new contract, and he even was prepared to take less money. He was told one thing, and then the next day he was told he's getting released. So he was definitely surprised by his release. One of the guys, not the typical, I saw the writing on the wall. He thought he was getting a new contract, according to him, and maybe just for less money. He was actually willing to take less money. They didn't even give him that option, and they kind of would just go in a different direction and let him go. I thought he was a decent announcer. I thought he was okay as an interviewer. I didn't see a need to get rid of him to make room for this Renee girl, who to me is not even there. I mean, I don't even know what the big deal about this Renee girl is.
You know why?
Who hired her, or why go with her over Matt Stryker? I don't even know.
You know why I'm really surprised he's gone? I'll tell you why. WWE's going to start this 24/7 channel. It's going to launch right around WrestleMania. There's so much content that's going to be on there where they have people introducing videos and stuff like that. There's so much work to be had over there. I just can't understand why they wouldn't keep him for that. It just baffles me.
And I think the thing that struck me strange was after Todd Grisham quit last year, and I thought Todd Grisham was good. I liked Todd Grisham. Then Matt Stryker was released, obviously, so they were really getting rid of some people to make room for some of these other interviewers. So like I said, they're not only not better, but half the time I see that girl Renee, I'm like, oh, is that Beth? Who is that, Beth Phoenix? I don't even know who that is half the time. When she was interviewing tonight in the ring, they just gave us something to do. She came. I mean, even Sam Punk joked around saying, "Isn't it funny that we're supposed to be being interviewed and Renee's not asking us any questions?" Almost he was maybe even taking a little dig at her. But she sucks. I mean, I've heard behind the scenes a lot of wrestlers think she sucks.
You know what's funny, Kev?
And Matt Stryker is a student of the game. He knows if anybody got the Macho Man Randy Savage video, he did a great job on that video. I mean, Maria was on that video too. But Matt Stryker knew of all the stuff in the Garden, and he was there, and he was a kid when Savage was there in '88. He was talking about being a he really knows his shit, and I think he would be good to bring back for that 24 channel because, as you said, Doctor, there's going to be plenty of work. And I hope they don't put this girl Renee or some of these other announcers as the host of these shows.
You know what's ridiculous
losing Grisham and Stryker, to me, was a blow, in my opinion, to the company.
Know how ridiculous she is? My girl watches Total Divas, and I can't stand watching that show, but they did a Total Divas special, right towards the beginning of the launch of the show, and that girl Renee hosted that Total Divas special that was on E! And she's chatting away with the girls, and she was fine. I mean, she was excellent hosting that. That's where she should be, not in a wrestling ring. She should be on E.
No, she should be on the E channel. I agree, and I would hope that maybe they'll even reach out to Stryker. And once again, we talked about this. WWE does these strange things. Chris Hero gets released. I mean, like I said, going back to the Steve Bradley's, was on par to be the next Van Damme, and then he's, good luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah.
They do things that sometimes make no sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all know this. I mean, they released, and granted he was, having a problem at the time, but if you'll remember, they released Eddie Guerrero at one point, if you remember that, and brought him back.
Yep.
As
far as Stryker,
I think that they should definitely bring Stryker back to do the because Grisham doesn't want to come back. Grisham left on his own.
Yeah.
But Stryker wanted to stay. I mean, he made that clear. That's why he didn't want to burn it. You saw him wanting to really say something against some of the guys in the back who he felt stabbed him in the back, but he wants to work there again. You could tell.
Did Feinstein ask him if he would go to TNA?
He said that he did, and he doesn't know. He kind of, once again, probably not wanting to burn a bridge, wanted to say
he wants to hold out.
It's just a dead pool over there, pretty much, of lost wrestlers from the WWE. But his whole thing was, what would I do there? Like, I don't know. Do they need me as an? I don't think they need an announcer. Would I be a wrestler? I'm still young enough where I can wrestle. He says, for the most part, I can still compete. I can still wrestle if they need me to wrestle. Manager, I can do that. He's like, I can do it, because a lot of people forget he managed Big Daddy V for a while.
Yep, that's true.
So he could be a manager, an announcer, backstage announcer. He could be a commentator, color man. He could be a ring announcer. He could be a lot of things. That's what I think Matt Stryker. But there's no other options. Like TNA, I don't think. He said unless they have a defined role for him, what would he do there?
Right. See,
and I don't think they would have a defined role for him.
My impression of Matt Stryker right now is this also, and I don't think he would ever say this, but I think he thinks this deep down inside. I think that he thinks WWE is going to bring him back, and I think that he wants to hold out because he's afraid that if he signs with TNA, he might, like he'll say to himself, "Wow, what if I sign with TNA now, and WWE want me back?" You know what I mean? So I think he'd rather hold out and with the hope of WWE calling him back than actually going to TNA. I don't know if he made any real close friends in WWE, but he should, if TNA expressed interest in him, he should have, his friends in TNA and WWE send a little feeler saying, Stryker might be going to TNA.
He said he doesn't really. Well, that was the other thing that I felt bad for him. He said since he was released, his phone never rang. Like I can't remember who the wrestler was. If I can remember it, I'll tell you. But one wrestler kept in touch with him, and it was only one. So he said, it's the typical, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But he would have thought, as long as he was there for a bunch of years, that, he would have gotten a lot of, people would have reached out or called him or whatever. But he said it hasn't been the case, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
He said he thinks he rubbed some people the wrong way there, and maybe that might have been it. He's not sure. But the only wrestler he really buried was Elijah Burke, saying that.
Oh, really?
When he was in ECW, Elijah Burke thought he had a sense of entitlement, and actually, when it came time to get some heat back on him, or him to take some hard moves or some stiff stuff, Elijah Burke would be nowhere to be found. He's like where Kevin Thorne and guys like that, took their lumps and did what they had to do.
Yeah.
Elijah Burke was Sylvester Terkay, so he didn't have to take any fucking moves from anybody or take any fucking bumps. And he just said he didn't have a lot of respect for him at all, and he's surprised he went to TNA and got a push.
Yeah.
Because as far as he knew, Elijah Burke didn't like to be on the offense at all half the time.
Well, that's what you got.
I don't know. That was the only guy he really buried. He referred to a couple other guys too, like made a face and like, I'd like to say something about that guy, but I'll just take the higher road.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a good interview. I mean, he's a good talker. When you're a good talker, you give a good interview.
Yeah.